Welcome to the Kentucky Bourbon Traveler. Today we're going to check out Indiana bourbon at the Spirits of French Lick Distillery in West Baden. We're also going to be reviewing the Mattie Gladden Bottled and Bond Straight Bourbon Whiskey. And Christiana has a recipe for Indiana Bourbon Pulled Pork.
Hi, I'm Ken, and welcome back to Louisville, Kentucky. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to Indiana, to the largest pot still distillery in Indiana, Spirits of French Lick Distillery. Alan Bishop has recently bottled their first 4-year Bottled and Bond bourbon. French Lick, Indiana is an hour and a half from Louisville, Kentucky, across the Ohio River Bridge into rural Indiana. French Lick is 2 hours south of Indianapolis, Indiana, too. Yep, right in the middle of fine farm country and limestone quarries, and not much else. Kentucky and Indiana are often called Kentuckiana here locally. The forest that covers both states, the weather, limestone filtered water, and crops for bourbon grow just as well on both sides of the Ohio River, separating the two states. Many large distillers prefer Indiana corn for bourbon too. So you might have asked yourself through the years, we got all kinds of great Kentucky bourbons. Where's all the fantastic Indiana bourbon? One of the places they've begun making great bourbon in Indiana again, out of Kentucky, is West Baden, right next to French Lick. French Lick, Indiana, since the late 1800s, has been a retreat for the wealthy due to the railway traffic from the East Coast. Wealthy patrons enjoy spirits, hot springs, water, baths, and the water is thought to have magical properties, like most hot springs. Casino nightlife, and in the past, Indiana had a ton of brothels. Spirits of French Lick Craft Distillery shares a massive steel building with another family's established winery, and the distillery side is a family operation. Alan's dad works with him too. They're operating at a smaller scale than most, but size and quality don't always go together. You won't see a massive diesel truck showing up with grains from local farmers, but they're hand-picked grains that they either grow or pick locally.
I basically come from a family of distillers, both legal and illicit, Indiana and Kentucky. But it's very important to me to be able to grind my own grain, to see my quality, etc. The problem is if you're not grinding your own grain, you're just taking the word of the miller.
Alan's releasing in Kentucky, Indiana, and Texas a great new 4-year Bottled and Bond named Mattie Gladden. Alan's a historian and thought a sweet, high-rye bourbon with a little spice should be named after a local. His Bottled and Bond Mattie Gladden is named after a late 1890s madam, an owner of a high-priced home for call girls, a brothel in the neighboring town of Salem, Indiana. In 1897, Mattie Gladden built one of the finest homes in the area. And I was told by the Salem Museum curator, the wealthy businessmen, it was rumored, would be charged as much as $200 to walk in the door back in the day. With the railroad going through the area, there was plenty of traffic for high-priced girls in Mattie's home bordello. It wasn't all smooth for this Mattie Gladden either, as locals wanted her gone. And one night, her ex-husband, of many, a local saloon operator, came off the train, very drunk. And when he was turned away from Mattie, he tried to get in a window. Well, Mattie was a little spicy. She shot her .38 caliber pistol through the windowsill above, hit her ex-husband just below his left eye. She must have been spicy too, because he remarried his ex-wife 3 years later after that gunshot wound. We're reviewing Spirits of French Lick, the Mattie Gladden 100 proof 4-year Bottled and Bond bourbon. Alan Bishop's first Bottled and Bond bourbon It's, as I said, refined. It's darker than expected if you can see through this clear glass bottle. And it's kind of unusual because he's using a medium toasted number 2 barrel for that few years, 4 years, that often results in a lighter color. I think you might agree. It's almost mahogany. Its nose is brown sugar, and the palate is slightly buttery. Brown sugar with a little spice, which continues to its oak brown sugar finish. Surprisingly, when I was drinking this, I kept thinking to myself, it reminds me of a younger, sweeter, with a little spice in it, Henry McKenna. Mattie Gladden straight bourbon whiskey uses largely Indiana ingredients and has a high rye mash bill. The grain ingredients are 55% corn, 35% rye, and 10% Brice Victory Malt barley, using Indiana water, of course. I don't know of a bourbon fan who hasn't smelled the candy corn caramelized air in a bourbon warehouse or rick house that hasn't smelled that angel share. In French lick, much like wild turkey in Kentucky, the angel share takes about 28% of the whiskey over 4 years. That works out in the big 53-gallon barrels to about 15 gallons of the whiskey. So when they get done, when it ages naturally by air without temperature control for 4 years, it removes 15 gallons, which still leaves 190 uncut barrel-proof bottles per aged 53 gallons. Well, next up, Christiana is putting together Indiana bourbon pulled pork. Go ahead, give up some of your bourbon for cooking. It's worth it.
Hi, I'm Christiane, originally from Würzburg, Germany, and today we're making a Indiana favorite, Indiana bourbon pulled pork. So the ingredients, I use pork chops because I'm cooking it for 2 people. You can also use a pork tenderloin. So I put them in the crock pot. I'm adding a diced onion and garlic. Then I'm gonna add apple cider vinegar, different spices like garlic, paprika, cumin, salt, and cayenne pepper, brown sugar, and use your favorite barbecue sauce. And then, of course, gotta have that good bourbon of your choice. So I stir the ingredients around a little bit so the pork chops or your roast, whatever you want to put in there, stays nicely covered. And then I'm gonna put it in the crock pot and cook it for about 4 or 5 hours until the pork pulls apart. I take it out of the crock pot and I start shredding it. And the way I do it, I just kind of hold it with the knife and pull it with the fork, and until it's nicely shredded. And then I'm going to transfer the shredded back into the crock pot with the sauce and add a 1/4 cup of bourbon and let it cook for about 10 minutes. Now we have a wonderful Indiana bourbon shredded pork sandwich with extra little barbecue and bourbon sauce aside, and some marinated cucumbers and tomatoes. Enjoy.
Kentucky bourbon traveler.